Hello guys, welcome to the video. This video is tutorial 2 of LED patterns. So in these groups of tutorials, we're going to be showing you all different types of LED patterns that we can do with the Arduino. And at the end, we'll be making a project where we can switch through all these patterns and control the speed of how fast these patterns do with the Arduino. And so here is the code. And if you haven't seen the last video, I recommend you go back to that video because I'm not going to explain the code that we have already explained in that video. So basically up here, everything's pretty much the same as the last video, so I'm not going to go through and explain it all. And so we're going to go ahead and go right down to here into this case 2 of the switch statement right up here. And this is where the new code is, and that is the LED chaser. So basically the LED chaser is basically where an LED light would start moving, and behind it would be a trail of LED lights, but they will start fading until they're fully off. So that's basically what this is going to do. And so this is all the code for it right here. And so let's go ahead and explain it. And so we do if LED direction equals 1. So basically if LED direction equals 1, that means come into the system. So if we're going the positive direction, then we want to go ahead and come into this if statement. And so basically when we're going the positive direction, this is all the code for it right here. This is all the code for the positive way. And then in this else statement down here, for this if statement right here, will be for the negative way. So when we're going back, when the LEDs are going back, because once it goes forward, all the LEDs turns off, then it will go back. And so this is all the code for it when it goes back. Then what we do inside of this statement is we do a for loop. I'm pretty sure if you listened and watched the last video, our last tutorial, you're well familiar with what we're doing here. We're just going through all of the LED states to see if they're on and off, and we do things based on that. So basically, if LED state J, so basically, as you know, J will start at 0 and start looping this for loop, and every single time we start looping this for loop, J will be incremented. So first 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and until it gets all the way up to 5. And so then that means it's going to go through all of the LED states, because this array right here is holding all the LED states from 0 to 5. So those are all the slots that are holding the LED states of how bright they are, or if they're on and off and things like that. So we say does not equal 0. So as long as it's not equal to 0, come into the statement. So if it's not equal to 0, that means the LED is on. It could be not fully on, but it's definitely on. And so when it's on, we want to come into this if statement, and we want to do LED state equals LED state minus 85. What this is going to do is, as we light up the LEDs, as we go to next LED after another to light up them, behind this, LEDs will be fading. Okay, and so this is how this is going to do it. It's going to slowly take away each time we loop this for loop over and over again. So the LEDs are slowly dimming. Now you may be wondering, well, it could be on, but it could not be equal 85. You know, it could be low, like 40. Then that number is going to go to down below 0. It's going to be negative. Well, actually, that can't happen because 85 goes exactly into 255 3 times. So this LED state will always be able to get down exactly down to 0 and not below it. Okay, so once it gets down to 0, it will no longer come into this if statement anymore with that specific LED state. Okay, so now we have the next if statement, and so basically this if statement is LED state equals 170 and J is less than 5. So this may be kind of confusing on what we're doing here, but basically we're checking if LED state is pretty much fully on. Okay, if it's equal to 170, that means it was most likely turned on last time we passed through this for loop. Okay, the reason why it's 170 now is because it was already decreased by this if statement, because this if statement is the first if statement in the for loop. So it's going to be decreased before this if statement even sees that it was fully on to 255. So we've got to make it 170 because 255 minus 85 is equal to 170. Okay, so we do 170 here, which tells us that this LED was turned on fully bright last time we were into this for loop. And so then we do J less than 5. So what's this for? And so basically what this is for is it tells us if we are not at the end of the strip. So basically if J is less than 5, that means we can still continue going forward. But if J is actually equal to 5, then this would no longer be true, and we are still not going to this statement even if j is equal to 170, because at the end of the strip we don't want to continue and brighten up the next LED because there isn't another LED. Okay, and so we want to stay out of this if statement if j is equal to 5, because that's the last LED. And so basically what we do in this if statement is we just simply LED state j plus 1. So we're just going to the next LED in the LED state, okay, because we know there's another LED state that is higher or is next. So we can do j plus 1, and we do equal 255. And so basically what we're doing here is we're just, with this j plus 1 is the next LED is we turn it fully bright on, because this LED right here that we're currently at, because we came into this if statement right here with 170, means that this LED was turned on last, and so now we're going to turn on the LED next to it now. And so that's why we do plus 1 to turn on the one next to it. And we know that there is one next to it because it is not equal to 5 yet. J is still less than 5. And then we go ahead and break out. Okay, so then now this is important because this breaks out the whole for loop. Okay, because after we find this value and we put on the LED fully bright on, we want to get out of this system. We're not going to worry about any of the other LEDs that we have to still go through, because those LEDs are off. We're not going to do anything with those. And so we need to break out of this full loop and then go and update the values again and make this update that we have made inside of this code right here. So that's what we do for that. Okay, so now the next if statement is we have if j equals 5, okay, which is the last LED in the LED strip, and LED state equals 0, then come to this if statement. And so you may be wondering, okay, well, what if, LED state could be equal to 5? What if we're not quite there? We haven't turned on LED, the last LED yet. Well, that's why this break statement's here, because we're not going to get there unless we have already brightened up this LED and we have dimmed it completely down. All right, which basically means that we're done with going forward. Now we need to go backwards. Okay, so that's exactly what we do. We come into this statement if this is true, and we do LED state j equals 255. So basically, since we come into this statement when j was equal to 5, then we're basically making the last LED fully on, getting ready to go backwards. All right. And that's what we do here. We do LED direction -1. We change the direction and we go back. And in this case, that means we are no longer going to come into this if statement because LED direction is -1. And then after that, the next time we loop and go through this case statement again, we're going to go through this else statement now, because LED direction is -1. And so we kind of do the same thing, but in this case, the full loop is now decreasing. So j is equal to 5, and we are going to continue as long as j is greater or equal to 0. Okay, so as long as this is true, then we're going to continue looping this full loop, and every single time we go through this full loop again, of course, we decrease the value j. Okay, so we do exactly the same thing as we check if the value is, if LED state is not equal to 0. If it's not equal to 0, then that means it's on, so we're going to go ahead and decrease it. So as we go on, we slowly have the LEDs turn off, and then we go ahead and see if this LED state is the LED state that we have fully brightened on last time we've been through this if statement. And if we have, then we're going to come into this if statement as long as j is greater than 0, meaning that we are not all the way to the end and it's time to go back forward again, because this is just going to go over and over again. It's going to go back and forth. Okay, and so we need to make sure that it's not at the end, and if it's not, then we're going to continue and we're going to come into this statement and make LED state -j. We're doing minus now because we'd also do a minus up here because we're going back now, so we're decreasing the value. We're going back from to the start. Okay, and so we're going to fully brighten that one up, and then we're going to break out of this whole for loop and then come back again. And so then again we do j equals 0 and LED state equals 0, then come into this if statement, meaning that if the last LED state, the last LED is off, then we want to come into this statement, because there's no way, as I said, to get to this LED state unless we have already brightened up this LED. And now, since now it's equal to 0, that means we have fully brightened up this LED and we have fully turned it off, which means we're done with going the negative direction. Now we want to turn back around and go back, which means we turn on the LED, the full state LED, because we are at J1, J0, and then we go ahead and do the direction to positive, which means we're just turning the direction forward now. And now we're going to go forward again, and we're going to do this over and over again. What it's going to get to, it's going to keep going back and forward, and it's not going to stop. So that's what we're going to do here. And right now, what you have to do to upgrade the code is you have to change this to mode 2 right here, or mode 1. Mode 1 is for the Knight Rider, which we made in our last tutorial. Mode 2 is for the LED chaser, and in our next tutorial I'm going to be adjusting this when now we can use a button to increment or adjust mode, so we don't have to do this manually in the code. I also do the adjusting of the potentiometer so we can control the speed of these light patterns. So now let's go ahead and look at our project in action. Okay guys, so here is the project. As you can see, we have the LED chaser going back and forth, and as you can see, it's the LEDs slowly dim down and slowly turn off, although they do it kind of quickly and they only do it like in 3 LED steps, so it's not so easy to see, but it does do it. And so yeah, and so eventually next tutorial we will be able to control the speed of how fast this goes with the potentiometer, and I'll also add a button in the circuit so that we can go through all the other LED patterns we have made. And so yeah, stay tuned for that tutorial. So if you like this video, consider giving this video a like. Also comment down below if you have any questions, and consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all and have a great day. Bye.